Hey, this is normally the time where I start preaching a message. We're going to take a little break from our series in James. By the way, you guys enjoying the series in James? Yeah, it's deep though, isn't it, man? Holy cow. But I'm really enjoying what God's speaking to us. But today we have a really exciting, it's really exciting to get to hear from a missionary that we sent out and has been gone for a while. And then a really big update from our church and our leadership team. And so it's a special Sunday. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm an emotional wreck right now. I'm barely hanging it together. So if I just lose it, it's okay. Everything's good, okay? This is good and exciting what God's doing. I'm just a wreck, okay? And so we'll all get through it together. We'll all get through it together. Anyways, as you guys know, many months ago, we got to pray over someone special, Katie, to go serve, and I don't want to talk too much about what she did because I want her to be able to do it, but church, can we welcome back after 6 months now, or 4 months, or how long has it been, 6 months? 5 months, right in the middle, I was almost there. Can we welcome back Katie from overseas and missions work? Come on up here, Katie. Yeah. We are so excited to have you back. We've been praying for you. We've been getting updates about her. And we thought we'd take a moment to hear from her. Do you have a microphone? You do right there. Okay, why don't you make sure it's turned on? Oh, I need to preach from these. These are, yeah. Anyways.
Very comfy.
Katie, how are you?
I'm doing so good.
Yeah?
It's good to be home.
How many days have you been back?
We got back Wednesday, so 4?
4 days. So she hasn't even been here a week, and she's spending time with us. How cool is that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Katie, why don't you share with everybody where you went, what you did, who you went with, and all of that.
Yeah. So I completed a discipleship training school with the organization called YWAM, or Youth with a Mission, and my base was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I essentially spent 3 months in Pittsburgh, and that is what they call the lecture phase. So you know more about God. And then the last 2 months is outreach phase, and that's where you make him known. And so lecture is a lot of classroom setting and really diving into his word. Each week was a different topic, a lot of heart surgery and a lot of work within me. And then 2 months in Albania for 1 month, and then Poland for the second month. And that's where we go out into the streets, do ministry and do street evangelism, spread the gospel, and tell others about Jesus.
That's pretty cool. And what an amazing opportunity. And we got some updates from you and talked a little bit. So why don't you share with us first what God did in your life, in your heart during this whole time? Is there some things you want to share about that?
There's a lot. But I think the first thing he definitely taught me was identity in him. I struggled for a long time to understand and to walk and go through life like I know that I'm a blood-bought daughter of the Most High King. And so he really drilled that in during the first few weeks and continued to reveal more and more things about my identity in him. I think that was so essential for my ability to do ministry, as I needed to know who I was in partnership with him first. And the second is fear of the Lord, and it's such an impactful and essential thing for a longevity of faith and what that looks like, what fearing the Lord looks like, and that's not fearing man and what that looks like. And so there's really so many things that I learned, not only about the character and nature of the Lord, but what he says about me. And he really just stomped out all the lies that the enemy had tried to convince me for the past however long. And so it was truly transformational. Not only was I used as a vessel to impact the kingdom in these 3 places, but he really rocked my world and just transformed my heart.
That's so great. That's so cool. What an opportunity to learn those things, and what a cool environment to learn that. Yeah. Why don't you share some of the things that happened while you were stationed here in the U.S. in Philadelphia, and some of the outreach you guys were able to do and how you were able to serve and be used by God?
Yeah, so in the discipleship training schools, a lot of them have different tracks. And so I was in the basketball track. So a lot of it, once a week, we would go to the rec center in the community of Carrick. It's a borough in Pittsburgh. and it's a pretty rough neighborhood. And so we would have open gym, and students would come in, and we would just play basketball with them. We would have conversation, build relationship, and share the love of Christ with them. We also did a lot of evangelism on the Pitt campus, which I found to be more difficult than evangelizing overseas, because as a college student, I was like, I know how they feel. They're busy. I don't want to disturb them. And the Lord really was like, your uncomfortability is not worth somebody's eternity. And so he really drew that into and really taught me how to walk in boldness. And so a lot of things I think in the U.S., you can think, what will they think of me? And the Lord really was like, is it worth it? Is their opinion of you worth having a conversation that may be uncomfortable? And it's a tough pill to swallow, but once you start walking, just take one step in that boldness, and he's faithful to just catch my every step and guide me through the next. And so Pittsburgh outreach, and then we spent a week in Philly, and we were able to do prayer stations in a bus station. And Philly's a really rough big city, and I had a lot of fleshly fears that the Lord really worked through. I got to evangelize to a group of drug dealers. Like, that's incredible. Wow. Lord kept me safe and really just blew my mind of how he can use me. And I really don't have to do anything but give him my yes and push my flesh aside and just let him work.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And so you did all that while the intense training and equipping to be able to go overseas. Okay. And then from there, you went to Albania. You want to share some of what God did through you in Albania?
Absolutely. So Albania is the country right above Greece. And I say that because I didn't even know it was a country before we were called there. And it was a country that has just been freed from communism about 30, 40 years ago. And so you can feel the spiritual, like that spirit of captivity. And there's a lot of Muslim culture there. So it's about 60% Muslim. A lot of it is cultural, so they don't practice, but it's part of being Albanian. So we had a lot of interactions there. We did a lot of kids ministry, but a lot of street evangelism. So in that time, the Lord really, really highlighted people to me and just said, go. And I really had to rely on him for the words to say. I didn't come in with I grew up Christian, but not a ton of hard biblical knowledge to defend the faith. And I really had to rely on the Spirit to speak through me, because Muslims really want to know why is your truth and not mine? And so they like to know, some of them like to know the facts, right? And I was so fearful at first of, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I don't know? And then it looks like I don't know what I'm doing. And the Lord really blew my mind. He's like, you don't need to, you've got me in you. Like, we got this. And so just to see things grow, I think my favorite testimony of that time is I had never seen someone come to the Lord. And so we were out evangelizing in the city, and we ran across this 13-year-old boy and his friend was not interested in what we had to say. So he left, but the boy's eyes were like hungry for the gospel. And he stayed, and it really meant a lot, because when you're at that age, your friends, what they do means everything. You normally fall into whatever they want. And so he stayed, and his name was Leo. And he just had the purest heart and hunger for the Lord. And that was the first time the Lord used me to bring someone to him, and just to be able to share my testimony and to be able to talk to him about what does it look like to walk with the Lord, and what is his identity in the Lord, and to see the look on people's faces, especially young teens, when I say, you know, you were designed for a relationship with God. And they were like, really? Like, they had no idea. And so just to bring that truth and that light into that nation was so incredible.
Lauren and I did some missions work in the UK in the past, and I'll never forget, we found this place called, they claimed to be an American diner, and I was like, we'll see about that in the UK, which, don't get me wrong, I love British food. I love it. But it wasn't an American diner. But anyways, one of the workers there was from Albania. And I'll never forget, he asked what we were doing there, and we just opened up to him. And I'll never forget him just crying, telling the story as a kid when Mother Teresa went through his neighborhood. And he showed me this cross necklace that she handed to him, and he was still wearing it. But then he was crying, sharing about his story about all the family that won't talk to him because of his faith in Jesus. It's part of the reason why he moved to the UK. And yeah, I mean, you got to minister to those people. How powerful is that?
Yeah, so that kid, Leo, you just reminded me, we would be able to check up on him. It was the great thing that city was so small, that we were able to check in on the people that had given their lives to Christ. And I think that's the coolest part, right? Because you're overseas, you're there for a little bit, and then you leave. But we got the opportunity to check in and continue to feed them whatever they needed to hear. And so we would check in. His uncle owned a shop, food shop. And we would check in with him every time we walked past. And he'd be like, I'm in John chapter 2 now, and this is amazing. And his uncle at one time found out that he was reading the Bible, and he flipped out. And Leo said, I'm not going to stop. And to see that even in, he doesn't have the freedom necessarily to read the Bible. He doesn't necessarily have the freedom to have a relationship with Jesus without oppression. Really made me realize how much I take my relationship with the Lord for granted. And so it really opened my eyes and just broke my heart for how incredible these youth are, and everyone that gave their lives to Christ. They're willing to suffer through whatever their families think of them because they know of the glory and the awesomeness of Jesus. Is so cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so from Albania, you went up north to Poland, right? And you want to share some of what happened in Poland?
Yeah. So Poland is 98% Catholic. And at first, I didn't really understand the difference, right? And so more and more talking to people, I understand how works-based they are. And they think they need to work for their salvation. And there's also a significant stronghold of depression over that nation. And it was so incredible to partner with the Lord in evangelism, to receive words of knowledge for these people. And they have not experienced the relational side of the Lord. And so one of us would be sharing the gospel with them, and the other would be praying. And sometimes we'd pause and ask, I remember I was with my friend Isaac. We were evangelizing to these 2 teenage girls, and he stops me and he says, have you been crying a lot lately, to this girl? And she looked so shocked. She was like, how do you know that about me? And it wasn't like some basic information that you would know. And he was like, I just saw this picture of you in this room, and you were on the floor, you were crying. And she was like, I've been crying a lot lately. And he goes, your Father in heaven wants you to come home. He wants you to know that you are his daughter. And that day, a seed was planted. And so just to see and bring the light of the Lord to, especially in the youth, there is such a darkness and oppression over these youth, was really something so incredible. I think the Lord really highlighted to me my heart for middle and high school age people, just because I see all the things that they're challenged with, because that's, I think, was the hardest age for me. And so the Lord really highlighted the gifts that he's placed in me and the strengths, and not to just run off and say, oh, I'm strong in this, so I'm going to do this, but to really partner with the Lord and walk with him and understand why he has me where I am. And so Poland, and especially with their history, and World War II is a very oppressed nation as well. They were just freed from communism, and so it's no coincidence that we went to 2 nations that had such power over them for so long. And so to be able to share the freedom that it comes with the gospel, I think was my biggest takeaway of both Albania and Poland. But to see Poland, these youth be set free from the chains of depression was truly so incredible.
Yeah. All right, and can we talk about the little trip you took from Poland?
Yeah.
We can do that publicly? Okay. And then after Poland, you got a really unique and awesome opportunity to cross a border there. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we spent a day, it was actually 3 days into being in Poland. We crossed the border. We walked into the border of Ukraine. And a lot of our team was pretty fear-ridden. I think that's a pretty general thing to battle going into a nation at war. But there was such a peace and such a boldness in our flesh that it overpowered our flesh, I should say. We walked into that. It was so weird. We walked into a nation at war. Like, I think about it and it still blows my mind. And I expected to see crazy things and hear the bombs, and we were ready. We were like, we don't know what it looks like. We've got the Lord on our side. And we walked into a super peaceful town. I can't remember or pronounce the name, but we took a bus to Mishutka, Poland. It's a border town. Walked to Ukraine, and it was kind of a scouting trip. So the base that we stayed with in Poland actually started during the war, and they had wanted to go back into Ukraine and see what it looked like, see what ministries needed to be updated and revived there. And so we started at a park, and the town looked pretty dead, but it was quiet and it was peaceful. And so we had a dance and a drama that we would perform. And we were like, that doesn't seem fitting. We don't want to destroy the peace. And so we pulled out face painting, and we were by a park, and we were able to just do a couple kids' face paintings. And there were 2 experiences that we'll never forget, and it made the whole trip worth it. Me and my friend Abby went and talked to this mom and daughter, and we handed them sticker books. And we did the daughter's face paint. We did our little pink butterfly. And when the mom opened the book and saw that they were stickers, she started crying. And she was like, you have no idea how much this means to my son. And I was like, they're stickers? But in my heart, I knew like they were deprived of so many things, that stickers would bring them so much joy. And we were able to give her a Ukrainian Bible, and she was a believer, but just to encounter her and strengthen her in the hardship that she was facing was truly so incredible. And then my friend, I'll share his testimony because it's so incredible. He had a vision for this gentleman, and they ended up having a conversation. This vision essentially was this guy in army gear from the waist up, and he thought, oh, maybe he wants to be a soldier. And so they ended up having a conversation, and this gentleman was going to war. I think he was 18, going to war in 2 weeks with his friend. And so they prayed for his safety and prayed for his salvation, and in English. And so they had this whole conversation over Google Translate. We had no translators with us. So my friend prayed in English, and this guy did not understand a word of English. So he finished his praying, and he said, I understood everything you just said. And so to experience the gifts of the Spirit and to see that the Lord is the same God as he was in the Bible as he is now, light as day, was pretty awesome. So we were just in Ukraine for a day and just had such amazing interactions, and it was so amazing.
That's so cool. Mom and Dad, I bet that was nerve-wracking. I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. All right, well, Katie has so many more stories to share with you guys. So please, I know you guys have been praying for her a lot over the last 5 months. Please find her, talk to her, ask her questions. Katie, why don't you share with us briefly the future, where you feel the Lord calling you to do, and what that is right now?
Yeah, so I wanted to thank you guys so much for all the prayers and support. We definitely felt them. I don't think this journey would have been possible besides my support at home, and so thank you so much. And it's so nice to be back home, not only in Boise, but here. So thank you guys so much. And I will be here for the next 9 months, and then in April I'll be leaving again for a discipleship Bible school in New Zealand.
Exciting. And so this is more of an intense Bible college kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so we'll be studying the Bible cover to cover within 3 months. And so it's going to be pretty intense schoolwork, and it'll be a lot of lectures, not so much the outreach, but the Lord really highlighted that understanding the Bible and biblical literacy is very essential for my calling. And so yeah, I feel like this is where he's called me next, and this is where I'll be walking pretty soon. But we've got some time to just rest and recuperate.
Yeah. Well, selfishly, we're grateful for that. So, yeah. Well, hey, there's going to be, stay tuned. There's going to be more news and opportunities how we as a church can partner with Katie with this next mission that she's going to be on. And so we'll start planning and preparing for that here soon. Yeah. So you have all kinds of ideas for fundraising as well as how we can pray for her. Speaking of prayer, leadership team, if you're here in the room, can we surround you and just pray over you and thank Jesus for all he did? And then church, if you want to extend your hands here. Sorry, I have the over 35-year-old. Get out of the chair. Ugh. Those things are comfy. It's hard to get out of. Yeah. Lauren, you want to come up here? And who are we missing? We got Alicia. Is Alicia here? Oh, man, half our team's in the nursery, and that's cool. They're all working with the kiddos, so awesome. All right, well, church, let's extend our hands this way after we lift up Katie. God, we just thank you so much for your favor, for your protection that you provided, for all the amazing ministry that you did through Katie and the rest of these missionaries, God, and this organization. And God, we're also extremely grateful for the work that you did inside of Katie's heart. The things that you started, Lord, the things that you fulfilled, God, and Lord, what you have for her future. So we're glad to have her back for this time, and we cannot wait to see how you're going to use her here after her experience, but also, God, how you're going to prepare for her. And God, we just thank you, Lord. Again, all the glory to you, God, for all that you've done in and through her. And we're excited for what the future holds. I pray that she may rest and rest well, God. That these next 9 months would just be an equipping, a regrouping to go back into the battlefield, God. We're thankful for her and what you've done in and through her. Amen. Amen. All right. Hey, Bree. Everybody? Yeah, okay. You get to sit down in the comfy chair. No, dude, I'm not lying. It's kind of hard to get out of. It's oh, I told you, these are nice, huh? We should do this more often. Well, hey, if you're a guest today, like I said, today's a little different. We just have a little bit of family talk and some updates today. And so, yeah, Malachi, why don't you pop that first picture up there? Look at those young guys right there. This was 5 years ago. This is when I first met Noe. Noe is from Idaho Falls, and we met at a youth summer camp where I was leading worship, and Noe was there, and I didn't have a sound guy or any help, and he just said, hey, here I am. And it's when we first met each other. We went through some crazy crisis. One of us, I won't say who, accidentally reset the whole soundboard, like factory reset, like hours before worship started.
We had 3 hours. Ooh, it's loud. We had like 3 hours to get ready.
3 hours. Granted, we stayed up till 1 a.m. the night before, fine-tuning everything, and then it reset. And we kind of knew right then and there, like, if we could still be friends after that and not hate each other, like, we could do anything, right?
Oh, you hated me, man.
I didn't hate you. I didn't like you.
You didn't look at me in the eyes for like 2 hours, bro.
Man, talk about self-control.
I hated myself too. So
No. Anyways, I just got an update at the beginning of this month on Facebook, a 5-year memory of that photo when we posted it.
Yeah.
Those of you guys know, Lauren, Nick, and I felt called to plant the Table Church in Idaho all the way when we were in Texas. And so it was really the three of us dreaming and partnering with the Holy Spirit and what he wanted to do. But once moving here, I don't know if you knew this, but Noe was the first person that I actually asked to pray about joining the church plant.
You told me that.
I did?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like no pressure, but you're the first one. Yeah. And it was was it the next year?
It was the first year, and we had our first practice, or our first service that night.
Yeah.
And you just came up to me, you're like, sorry, I don't want to put too much pressure, but you need to come to Boise with me.
Yeah, in 2 years, he didn't move to Boise. So I did it all the way back then, like this photo.
The first service after you were like,
that's kind of crazy.
I don't know, no way, but you need to come with me.
Yeah, I just knew, man. When God speaks, he speaks, right? And you just know. Noe was the first one I asked to pray about partnering with being what we are here at the Table Church. Noe has been a part of this from the very beginning. And I truly mean it when I say that Lauren and I, especially me, we could not have planted this church without Noe. Would you do the next photo, Malachi? Yeah. You know, on top of just being a huge help at the church, Noe's just been an incredible friend. Noe's been family to us, and we've been grateful. This photo for Father's Day, those of you that know me, it's a perfect gift. For Father's Day, my wife and kids got me a redneck hot tub. And so it's this little inflatable thing you put in your truck bed, and you fill up with water. I mean, come on, that's amazing. Noe was my only friend who would sit in the redneck hot tub with me. And so that's what's going on here. I mean, that's two good-looking cowboys right there, buddy. Yeah. And so not only has Noe just been a huge help and foundation at the Table Church, but dude, you've been one of my best friends, and I'm grateful for that. Speaking of being called and serving the Lord and doing what he wants, Noe does feel called to return back to Idaho Falls and to be with family. And he went to Lauren and I and asked us to pray with him, and we do feel like he's hearing from the Lord. Oh, boy. Your turn. Why don't you just share?
No. You keep going.
Yeah, would you share a little bit about what God's calling you to?
It was a tough choice because even when I came out here the first year, he told me, hey, you need to come with me. It's right when COVID was happening, and I was like, nope, I am not going over there. And so the following year, he, asked me again, and no pressure, and I knew that everything that God has put me through since I've been walking with God has always been a challenge, has always been a moment to grow. And as much as I didn't want to come, I knew that this is what he wanted me to be. And so it's that same scenario again. And just going back home, I think for me now, it's not just because I need to go back and serve, but it's just a big time for my family as well. I'm big in family. And yeah, I miss them a lot. And so I think it's just a time to spend with them and see what God has for me there and go from there. Don't want to say more because I'm gonna cry too, bro.
No. I want everybody to know that this is a good thing, even though we're both like sad right now, like acting like it's the worst in the world, which it is for me. But no guilt. We do sense and feel God in this. One of the things I'm trying to constantly remind myself with the Table Church is that this church belongs to the Lord. This is his church. This is his vision. The Table Church is 100% what God wants it to be because it's his. And one of the things we have to remind ourselves too is that the people in the church are his as well. And I think the fact that it hurts so bad is good because it means we've done it right. So Noe's not leaving burdened or leaving because something bad's happened. He's leaving because he's being sent. It's missional. The Lord's called him to go minister to people. And we believe in that. And as much as it hurts, I'm glad that we have the ability to listen to the Lord. I know this isn't easy for you. And it's not easy for us. And for me, it's not even just all the talent that Noe brings here. I mean, our worship is amazing, right? And our tech and all of that. But I'm sorry, those of you that are guests, we didn't even talk about your role. Noe's our tech director, but he also does so much ministry here at the church too. But more than all the work that God's done in him, this dude's heart is gold. And he loves us so well. But he's not ours. And Noe knows that, and he listens to God. And so we're excited for that. Excited for what God has in store for you. Next Sunday is actually going to be his last Sunday here. Told you guys, I warned you. So we're going to celebrate Noe next Sunday. We're not going to be up here crying like we're doing now and doing all this silly stuff. But so we're going to have a table to where you can sign some cards. We're going to have cards and everything for you guys. So just, if you have any prophetic words from the Lord that you want to write out to him, we're commissioning Noe out. This is a beautiful, good thing. We believe in Noe. If you want to write thank yous for all that he's done over the last 2 years in this church plant. And then if you want to gift him some things, and we're going to get him gifts and stuff as well. We're going to have a table for all that next week. And then we're going to get some of his favorite cake, which is cheesecake. And we're going to have some cheesecake at the end of service just to really celebrate. And we're going to pray over Noe in the next service next week. And so make sure and be here next week. Let's celebrate Noe as we commission him out, as we send him out. I know that no matter where you go in Noe, God's going to use you to do powerful, mighty things. And Noe, you are a brother to the brotherless. No matter where you walk, God's going to use you to be a brother to people. And so I'm excited for Idaho Falls. I'm also pissed off with them a little bit right now. But I know that God's going to do amazing things through you, and we're going to be a part of that commissioning. So, all right, my man, we're going to save all the prayer and stuff for next week when we send them out. I think it's pretty cool that we got to listen to 2 missionaries today. 2 people that heard the voice of God saying Isaiah 6:8, and then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send and who will go for me? And I said, here I am, Lord, send me. We got to hear from someone who did that in a grand and amazing way of going overseas, and her stories, right? Talk about surrender to the Lord. But then we get to hear it from a down-home perspective of someone who is loved and loves people here, wants to be where they're at, but is able to say, here I am, God, send me. And a church that can say, here he is, God, here we are, God, send him. And so honored we get to be a part of that. We get to live and learn from these examples, church.